Beauty will save the world. The Idiot, book by Fyodor Dostoevsky, is a book about a young man named Prince Lev Nikolaevich Myshkin. He is, symbolically speaking, the archetype of an ideal man who is kind, selfless, and above all else, like Christ, the embodiment of good. The story begins as his return from Switzerland to St. Petersburg, after having been treated for his idiocy. After the prince's return, he makes the acquaintance of the Epanchins. It is during his first meet with General Epanchin that he discovers a portrait of a young and extraordinarily beautiful woman, Nastasia Filipovna, who was once a mistress of an aristocrat named Dostoevsky. From the very first glance of the portrait, the prince could somehow sense the terrible fate of that of the woman herself and remarks, "And I'm convinced that her fate is no ordinary one. It's a gay face, but she has suffered terribly. It speaks in her eyes, these two little bones, the 2 points under her eyes where the cheeks begin. It's a proud face, terribly proud, and I don't know whether she's kind or not. Ah, if only she were kind, everything would be saved." This quote showcases the prince's capability to understand human suffering and understand humans as they are. I think this is why he is, as I've said before, kind and endlessly selfless. But by no means is he stupid. He is not unaware of the human evil in general, for he is very insightful and capable of intelligent discourses. However, we come to know as the story progresses that he was diagnosed with a medical condition which was termed idiocy. But this was not the only reason why he is considered an idiot. He is too honest and too selfless, and there is always a certain sense of idiocy when one tends to be too honest and too selfless. Hence, he is a fool, an idiot, despite his intelligence and insight. This proves to be the case when he selflessly offers to marry Nastasia Filipovna in order to save her from her miseries. But how does one save someone who deems themselves unworthy of saving? How does one save someone who believes that the only authentic way of being is suffering and only suffering? Will he who believes in suffering as the only authentic way of being mitigate the suffering by enduring it, or will he create even more suffering? It is apparently impossible to try to save those who have condemned themselves. Myshkin, in his constant attempt to save Nastasia, ends up producing even more suffering, destroying his potential romantic relationship with Aglaya, and the death of Nastasia Filipovna by Rogozhin, and finally the losing of his own sanity. He ends up in the place where he initially came from, the Swiss sanitarium, and as an idiot again. I think here lays the pessimism of Dostoevsky in this incomplete analogy to Christ. The frequent to and fro of Nastasia Filipovna between Myshkin and Rogozhin represents her wanting of redemption and her inability to accept it as self-forgiveness. How then can one save oneself, or anyone for that matter, from such miseries and sufferings that is inherent to this world? To this, Dostoevsky might say, beauty will save the world. This brings us back to the old Platonic triad, the good, the true, and the beautiful. This begs the question as to what is the good and what is the truth. As humans, these are by no stretch of the imagination easy to discern. But what can be discerned, as Terence McKenna once said, is the beautiful. Beauty is what attracts us, and everything beautiful has our hearts. Beauty inspires in us love and empathy. As a consequence, it leads us to the true and the good. Many will misunderstand the term beautiful, and Dostoevsky seems to be very aware of this. I quote again then the sentence that Prince Myshkin says when he looks at the portrait of Nastasia Filipovna. "Ah, if only she were kind, everything would be saved." In this decadent society where this whole drama takes place, the notion of beauty has become distorted, and this distortion could, in some sense, be made a bit more pellucid only if she were somehow kind. But then, why must she be kind? Maybe because then, just maybe, the whole triad of this structure, which is supposed to be different and yet the same, would finally be seen as it is, as the same whole. But unfortunately, this is not the case with Nastasia. Nastasia Filipovna, who is beautiful, is in actuality not the beautiful that is asserted, and so in the end, the beauty does not save the world. Yet the prince, the one who is the true beautiful, is unable to save the world as well, for he is, nonetheless, an idiot. So how, then, does beauty save the world? Well, to be honest, I do not know how. And the truth is, maybe it may even not save the world. It may just be some nonsense. But it would be wrong to say that beauty does not give hope, because it does, and maybe hope is what saves us all. Maybe this is what J.R.R. Tolkien meant when he once quoted so beautifully. There never was much hope, only a fool's hope.